All right, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Souls Outside. That's all about mindset over matter. Super excited in a little bit to introduce you to our featured guest, Ryan Banks, who is the Pure Mind Coach. All right, stick around. Welcome to Souls Outside, where we're all about finding the trail to stay true to your path. We do this by inviting featured guests on every show to share with you how you can follow in their soul prints, so you can choose which trail maps you need to continue on your journey. My name is Shannon Pohl, and I'm loving having navigated my own pivot from engineering to now being a master results coach and hypnotherapist, plus a forest guide who loves getting outside so we can learn from the nature, foster stewardship, and really amplify our successes by being outside in nature. I'm so excited to have you join today's episode. Welcome to Souls Outside. All right, hello everyone. Really excited about today's episode of Mindset Over Matter. Our guest, Ryan Banks, has some amazing things to share with you, and a really cool 4-pillar framework for having a strong mindset that he'll share with us towards the end. And before we get into that, wanted to just touch a little bit about all the crazy things that happen to kind of clog up our mindset. You'll hear a little bit through Ryan's story about some of these themes around, as we grow up, our brains get full. Just think about if you never dusted anything in your house, all the dust that would be everywhere. Like when you go into old buildings and you can there's an inch of dust that you could wipe off of the windowsill. That's what our minds have happening to them. As we are growing and learning and evolving and being a human, all these things get put in our brains. We're bringing in, I think it's 7 million. No, I think we're beyond that now. At least 7 million bits of information per second, all the time. All the seconds have at least 7 billion bits of information coming at us. We're not going to get into how they're processing stuff, just that much information every second. So I think it makes sense that after time, even with our brain filtering some of it out, some of the stuff's going to get clogged up in some of those corners and some of those recesses of our brains and just, be dust. And that's where some of the other things we talk about during the Hardcore Brain Power series, but there's all these ways to clear out our mindset, because some of those things, they served us in the moment, and now they are literally just dust on a shelf. So the analogy I always like to share about this is, think about when you were a child, 3, 4, 5, really even 6 or 7, young, and maybe you're playing catch with a red ball. And one time you don't quite catch it because you're learning, and it smacks you in the head, and ow, that hurt. And so your brain registers, ow, that hurt. And maybe you cry, or maybe you're just sad, or just you react because it hurt. And that's normal, and that is completely appropriate and relevant in the moment. That hit in face with red ball, ow, that hurt. However, the way our brain stores information, that could be a completely innocuous situation, or maybe it stores it in a way that red means hurt and pain. And so as we grow and things vector out, this completely appropriate response in the moment of a red ball meaning hurt and pain vectors out to just being red always means hurt and pain. That's the piece our brain, remembered and kept clean, which, as we grow and proceed through our years, maybe this means that, that other human wearing a red shirt, instead of approaching them and talking to them and meeting our soulmate, we go, ooh, red shirt, pain, ow, ooh, and we go the other way. Or stop signs, we have more of an an inappropriate reaction to stop signs because they're red. Maybe we get frustrated. We always have to stop at them. Or flowers in a garden outside. Maybe it kind of mars your outdoor experience with the stool's outside. That would be unfortunate. Um, so it's this kind of thing that, like, when we were 5, it made sense. And this could be an extreme example. And these are the types of things that happen through our life, is that in a moment we make a decision that's completely valid, and our unconscious mind, amazing thing that it is, stores all that information for us. However, unless we then consciously go to clean out some of those things and, dust off those shelves so we can put bright new shiny things that are now more appropriate for our life choices, these red ball equals hurt stays around, and we don't really know how that's impacting our life, which is not red ball hurt. And there's some of those kind of things that Ryan will share about his story of, what happens in childhood and how that can impact you later on in life. And how, even if it is impacting you later on in life, once we decide to do something about it, we can totally reclaim full choice and joy and wonder and amazement for our lives. So without further ado, we'll take a short musical interlude, and then we'll bring on Ryan Banks, the Pure Mind coach, to share his story and then share the 4 pillars for a strong mindset. All right, welcome everyone. So now we have with us Ryan Banks, the Pure Mind coach. I'm so excited he's joining us today. 1, I love his story, and 2, he's got these 4 pillars for having a strong mindset that he's going to share with us later that are amazing and wonderful. But for now, let's get to know Ryan, and I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shannon. Really appreciate it. Really excited to be here, first of all, and thanks for having me. It's a true pleasure. And for myself, I always love to tell my story. And I used to really not love telling my story because I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed by it. And just that vulnerability, I was just completely avoiding. So I always love telling my story now. And that's been a big transformation for me. And with that being said, going back into I'm 28 now. So going back into late teens, early 20s, I really struggled with, well, first of all, panic attacks and anxiety were a big thing and very prevalent in my life. And just in general, not having any sense of direction or purpose or just any desire to really move forward towards any kind of goal. And I think the panic attacks and anxiety was a big part of that. I just felt so debilitated by it, and you never know when it was going to creep up on you and just completely take away from your day or your week or your month or your year for that matter. And it was just really, it was a difficult time for me back then, especially at that age when you just want to fit in and you just want to get along with people and have friends and just I'm going to use the word normal and just kind of feel like a normal 20-year-old. And I just felt broken. And it's like, what is wrong with me? So much so that I was in 3rd year university. So looking at like 21. And it was a period of time of about maybe a couple of months where I literally couldn't get out of bed. I was sick to my stomach, headaches, just sweaty, it was horrible. And I'm on Google just looking up these symptoms. And because I was convinced it was physical, convinced that I had something physically wrong with me. I went to doctors, you name it, brain scans, heart scans, every scan in the book to scan my body. And they're like, no, nothing is wrong. You're fine. And I go back and I continually see anxiety come up, panic attacks, mental health. And I was like, wait, what? Like, no way. Like mentally, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm 21. I'm young. I'm fine. Like it's impossible. And I was in such denial. And it took me just being completely debilitated in university, just really struggling through to really dive into this and embrace it. And it took a lot of time. And this was also a time where I didn't feel like I was destined to be anything or become anybody, because I didn't feel that I was the smartest or perhaps the best looking or the best athlete, or I just felt very average in life. So combine that with the anxiety and panic attacks, I was just in a really dark spot. And throughout my story and throughout the years, and obviously we'll get into that as we go along here too, it's been such a development from just first of all owning it and realizing, okay, I've got this anxiety, let's call it disorder, and these panic attacks that I have to deal with, and how am I most going to effectively deal with them? And one of the biggest things for me that I had discovered actually through a close friend of mine, this is moving into probably, I was about 24. So let's call it 3-4 years later until I truly discovered this, was the power of mindset. And some very similar to the anxiety and just being in denial. When I first heard, oh, you can control your mindset and it can truly control your destiny and how you move forward towards your goals. And I was like, what? Like, you can't control your mind. Like, it's just whatever happens, happens. And that's it. Like, you've been given the skills that you have and that's it. You can't change them. And that's it. You just have to live with it. So that was a very foreign concept to me. I had never really heard of it. And once I started to learn about this and see the power that the mind holds, not just for you, but for everybody around you, I really started to dive in. And by dive in, I'm talking about reading all the personal development books you can name, listening to the podcasts, talking to friends and researching, and just realizing that I'm not stuck and I'm not an average human being. Everybody has talents and skills and, you name it, desires and passions that can be pulled out of them with the right mindset and the right support around you. So finding that out and really going down that path was huge for me. The other thing, in very basic terms, was exercising. I didn't take my health seriously at all up until then. And I decided around that time, 24, to really start taking my health seriously. And it was more for kind of the physical benefits, and little did I know the mental benefits behind it. And as I started to exercise more, I started to feel really sharp mentally. And I couldn't believe the change that I was going through just from exercising and getting those dopamine hits and all the great things that come with exercise. So those were the two main things that really helped me get out of my very dark hole of just hopelessness, really, and turned it into very much realizing that I have a ton of potential, and I can really achieve anything that I want when I put my mind to it and develop the skills and learn and grow and just take action. And that is something that I'll talk about as we go along, because taking action for me has ultimately helped me get through the anxiety and the panic attacks. And let me tell you too, I still get them from time to time. Even at 28, let's call it 8-9 years later from when I first started, I still get them, but I'm much better able to and better equipped to handle them when they do come up. And once again, we'll talk about that too. And just coping mechanisms with it, and just realizing that, look, this may very well be a part of me for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that. It's a part of me and it's made me who I am. It's gotten me to where I am today, into this beautiful position that I'm in my life in general. And I truly believe that the power of mind and mindset in general was, like I said, the number one catalyst, right up there with exercise to getting me to where I am. And ultimately that's led me to now at 28, obviously we're in some pretty crazy times, and I can't imagine myself in these times when I was 22, because how I would have reacted to it would have been a lot different than I did today. But it ultimately has led me to starting my business, the Pure Mind Coach. And it's all surrounding helping people that are in a position that I was in, as far as feeling stuck, feeling like they don't have direction, feeling like they're just average and they don't really have much to give to the world or just to life in general. And I just really wanted to take this on and help as many people as I can, because I just know what it's like to feel stuck and to feel like you're just going through the motions and you're kind of just walking through life, meandering through. And I just want people to realize that they have so much potential in them. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hard work to overcome some of those challenges, especially anxiety challenges and panic attacks, because it's just another force that's kind of against you. But for me, I look back on it and still look on it as a true blessing, because I think without those things that have happened in my life, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. I definitely wouldn't have the mindset that I have now. So that adversity has definitely given me kind of new life and new hope. And that's what I hope to instill in others and really help them along in their journey. And hopefully it doesn't take them 8 years like it did me to really get the ball rolling. And that's what it's all about for me.
Right. Excellent. And I think just your last point, that's so true that, you know, speaking in my coach role as well, like we become coaches because we want it to go faster for other people. Like instead of it being
totally
an 8-year journey, or in my case, more of like a decade, like how can we make it faster for people to, you know, to get to the other side of whatever that other side is for them. And I wanted to thank you for starting your story out by sharing that you used to not like telling your story, because I think that really loosens it for people that even if in the moment, like right now, maybe you are afraid of your own story, but there is a way, again, to even get to that other side that you're proud of it and you own it and you can move through.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. And I mean, I really wanted to get to that part where I was in my early 20s, where that's where the anxiety and the panic attacks really started. It goes back even farther than that, into times that you can't control when you're young. Like just growing up, and I love my family to death, and don't get me wrong, and we're close. But growing up, it was a negative environment. Parents were going through a divorce, just a lot of negativity at such an impressionable age, in that, call it 0 to 5 years old of your life, when you're seeing these things around you and you don't know really what's going on, but subconsciously that is getting ingrained in your mind, that negativity. And I think that's where a lot of my insecurity and just lack of confidence came as I started to get older, leading into the anxiety and panic attacks. So I think that's also an important part of my story, and something I probably don't talk about enough. But realizing that, okay, these situations happened, they were uncontrollable, but you can absolutely do something about it, and not playing the victim. And I definitely did have a victim mentality.
We all do. That's where we start.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. It's the easiest place to start. So no one pops out and goes, I'm a hero, right? We start in that victim, poor me kind of place.
Yeah. The world's out to get you, and everything's against me. I have no luck, and all of those sorts of negative things that you say to yourself or others. And so that was just definitely habits that I've had to work to get out of, just that negative spiral and so many years of just constant perpetuating negativity, and just realizing that, look, it's not my fault, and I'm not a bad person. I'm not a person that is negative by nature. This happened from a young age, and it's something that is unfortunate, but it's also something that you can do something about. And I think helping people realize that as well, that there's always something you can do to improve, no matter what the circumstances are, is so key. And I continue to work on it to this day. And I know you do as well. You're all about continual growth as well. So that's such an important piece of it as well.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and it's the last piece I wanted to really highlight from your story that I thought was very relevant was when you were talking about like the late teens, early 20s, and all we want to do is feel normal. And then later on, it was like, oh, like I'm just average. which normal and average could be the very same thing. And like at some point it's like, oh, I just want to be normal. I want to fit in. I want to be part of the group. And then at the same time, you're like, I just feel like I'm average and there's nothing unique about me. And it's at this odds place that just hearing someone talk about it, you're like, yeah, like so true. And that's naturally at odds. And so how can we, work on our mindset to clear this up within ourselves and be in alignment again.
Right. Absolutely. And that's such a good point. And for me, and I know for a lot of people, and especially the people that I talk to and some of my clients, it's comes down to that kind of the insecurity factor where, you just kind of want to fit in with the group. You want to be like everybody else and not stand out and not have people look at you and be like, what's he doing? Or why are they doing that? But at the same time, I think it's an inherent human desire and human need to feel significant and feel like they're living up to or beyond their potential and living to what they want to do and the standards that they have set for themselves. And I think, I was definitely in a spot where I didn't even think I had it. And so that's kind of the first step, is realizing that you do have the potential and you can achieve anything that you want. And I don't want to sound too cliche. I really don't like to go down that road of just sounding like, oh, you can do whatever you want. And
cliches are cliches for a reason.
Right.
Because there is truth in them. They just get overused a titch.
Yeah, a little bit. And I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. But it's the truth. It's the truth. If you put your mind to something, and more importantly, and this is what I really get into in my coaching, and have it well planned out and well thought out and have action steps and take the action. And this is, like I said, the centerpiece of my coaching, which
I think we're going to get to in just a minute.
We're going to. So, okay. Yeah. Stop me, because I get excited about this stuff. I really do.
I want to avoid cutting you off. And at the same time, we do want to get into more of those tips in the next section. Right. And so we'll no cutting, just a slight tin. Little pause.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I totally hear that. And that's clearly you're so passionate about that, which is beautiful. And we're so looking forward to hearing about those 4 pillars for a strong mindset that you have, and some of those pieces from your coaching to share with everyone after just a short musical interlude for everybody. So we'll do that now, and then we'll come right back to Ryan and his brilliance.
Love it.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We've still got Ryan Banks here, the Pure Mind Coach, and now we're going to hear all of his coaching brilliance. Well, maybe not all of it. Some of his key awesome coaching brilliance, and the CIBS 4 pillars to having a strong mindset. So go for it, Ryan. Sounds good.
Yeah, CIBS. And once again, in the intro, I know I got really excited about that just because I love talking about it. And this is purely based on what I've done to overcome my challenges. And I kind of a catchy name, CIBS, based on the pillars that I use, the 4 pillars. And I'll go through those. So CIBS, so the C is for clarify. So clarifying exactly what it is that you even want. Because I find some people don't, and I didn't know what I wanted in life in general. So just clarifying that, talking about what your desires are, what your passions are, what gets you fired up in the morning and in the evening and throughout your day, and just really pull that out of people, because everybody has it. Everybody has it. They just may not realize it. So clarifying those goals are super, super important. And then the I in CIBS is identify. So identifying any negative thought patterns, any negative mindsets, anything that's holding somebody back from working towards those goals that we clarified is super, super key. And we go deep in identifying those key things that we work on ultimately throughout the coaching process, and really work on some of those things through my experience. And this is where it gets really deep in some of my coaching calls with my clients, where we pull things out of them that they didn't even know they were going through, and some of the thoughts that they had. The B is build. So once we've clarified, we've identified some of those negative habits, and started to eliminate them. Now we build. So we're building the positive mindsets, the positive habits to get those small wins that work towards your goals, building the systems that are going to help you get towards your goals. This is where the goal setting really comes in. Now, goal setting, it sounds so easy, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it. And for me, goal setting was a challenge.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, it sounds so simple, but it's really not. And that's why I really like to include that in the building phase, because it's something that over the years through trial and error, I'm able to help people with and get deep on their goals, and we reverse engineer. So it's like, okay, what's the goal? Now, how do we work backwards to get down to even the smallest step on a daily basis, to then take those actions every single day, and those actions week after week, month after month are going to add up to big results. So that's the build phase. And then the S is support. And we all need support. I need ongoing support.
Yeah.
Everybody in life does. So we really look at, once we've built up some of these systems and these mindsets, just making sure that, and when obstacles come up, because they're going to come up, and challenges will come up. When they come up, it's all about, how do we approach them? How do we overcome them? How do we continue to keep those positive mindsets intact when they do come up? Because it's easy to have those solid mindsets and positivity when things are going well and smooth, but sometimes when things hit a wall, that's when it gets really tough. And that ongoing support, I find, really just helps overcome some of those things. So those are the main pillars in CIBS, and it's just a process that I've developed through my own trials and tribulations.
Nice. Beautiful. I love your pillars. I've heard you talk about them before, and each time I definitely get more out of it. And I think the things that you've identified are so key and critical. Like, how are you supposed to do anything if you haven't clarified like where you're even going? And then identifying the things holding you back, because like you said around the support piece, like, things are going to come up. Like, this is life. Like, no one predicted COVID. It happened. No. Now we're all, that's an obstacle. Are we making lemonade? Are we just holding on to our lemons? Whatever. It's an obstacle that came up for everyone. Quite literally every single human on the globe in this case, right?
On the planet. Absolutely. Yeah. And everybody has a choice. There's always a choice. And that's how to, even if it's completely out of your control, how you respond to it. You can respond to it in a positive way and say, okay, how are we going to get through this? Let's tackle this. Or make the choice to respond to it negatively and say, you know what, I'm just going to curl up and this thing's defeated me, and that's it. It's done. And that choice is key, and everybody has it.
Very much so. I know my initial choice with COVID, I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. I can just curl up in a ball for a while. I think that lasted like a day, and I'm like, this ain't a long-term strategy. Like, all right, let's get up. New choice.
Absolutely, for sure.
Amazing. And so quickly, Ryan, we didn't ask you this earlier, but a little bit of a tangent, but how do you honor your heart's desire to be outside? I know when we first met, you were outside, which was cool, which I know that was definitely one of those first pieces where like, you'll be a great fit for our show. But maybe you can share with our listeners and watchers a little bit about outside for you.
Totally. Yeah. It has a deep meaning to me, and I could talk about this for a while, so stop me if I get going too much. But
the tiny version this time.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be able to reach out to you for more info. So
absolutely,
the teaser version.
Okay, so I grew up in a small town, Collingwood, Blue Mountain, just 2 hours north of Toronto. So if you haven't heard of it, very small mountain town, ski resort with it's called Georgian Bay. But it's essentially a large body of water on one side, mountain on the other. But this means so much to me because going through my challenging times that I talked about in my early 20s, those two settings specifically brought me clarity. They brought me peace. They've brought me to some very special places that I've been able to go to and just constantly go and reflect. As I've gone throughout the years, just to be able to hike to the top of the mountain and just sit there and overlook the bay. It just brings such serenity, and it just has enabled me to honestly overcome some of my biggest challenges. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy to say, even saying it, that a mountain and a body of water can do those things, but it's absolutely done it in spades for me. And it's funny, there's some days where I just get called to have to drive out there and go. Like, I just have this inner desire, and it's like I just get in my car, it's like, okay, let's go for a hike and go out and overlook the water. So it has such a deep meaning to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I think I'm gonna hazard a guess that everyone listening and watching right now has had something similar like that, because I know I've had my moments too, where it's like, well, the call, like, you just have to go outside right now, drop everything, just go outside. And that's when some really cool clarity has come up, really cool ahas, learnings, and like, just how do I make my next choice has come from being outside.
Yeah, nature's a beautiful thing. Absolutely, it really is.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end our episode today.
Awesome.
Do reach out to Ryan. His email and the link to his LinkedIn profile are down in the show notes as ways you can reach out, because Ryan's gifting everyone with 90 minutes of complimentary coaching, which is such a beautiful, beautiful gift. You can dive into CIBS a little bit more, ask him really anything you have on your mind.
Totally.
Talk about nature. Just, there's so much you can accomplish. Well, there's so much we can accomplish in a short podcast. There's even more you can accomplish in a 90 minutes. 90 minutes with Ryan. So I think just gift yourself that time. You might even be outside, so it'll be kind of like you're climbing a mountain and looking over a lake.
Perfect. I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love hopping on any calls that I can to help anybody with really any struggles they're going through. So, I mean, yeah, definitely reach out, and I'd love to have a chat. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again, Ryan. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks for listening, everybody. This was really fun.
Thank you for joining us today on Souls Outside, and we hope you enjoyed walking in our featured guest soulprints as much as we did. As always, we like to wrap up each episode with our extreme gratitude and appreciation for our founding sponsors, who quite literally made it possible for Souls Outside to become a reality. First off, special thanks goes to CIBS and her company Palindrome Design for the amazing cover art, and noting that their sponsorship comes in support of their passion project, Self-Build Sustainable. We'd also like to thank Chuck Henry for his amazing music, original music, that is featured throughout the episode. And of course, Elise Cannon, our amazing editor, who quite literally made it possible for any of these episodes to see the light of day. They probably would still be on a hard drive on my computer without her expertise, skill, and passion for editing. So we thank them so much. And until next time, we hope you enjoy your journey and continue following in the soul prints of those who have gone before. Hey, one last thing before you go. If you wish you could talk about this episode with myself, our featured guest, or other like-minded individuals like yourself, join us on Facebook or LinkedIn in our Souls Outside Facebook and LinkedIn groups. On Facebook, we do watch parties. On both, we have awesome conversations about what we talked about and are able to answer your questions on how you can go even further on your soul print journey. See you there.